Good morning, good evening, and welcome to World of Warships. My name is Robin, and we are back for the fourth iteration of the Nostalgia's Grind series, this time featuring the Tier 7 Mahan. But first of all, thank you very much for tuning in the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you would enjoy your time here. I quickly want to thank you all for the amazing feedback on this series so far. It really pushed me to crank up my upload rate for this month and test my abilities to edit a bit faster, so once again, cheers to you all. Although we got some work on our hands today, since we have two battles to review in this episode. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the details of the ship we're about to sail in. Sitting at Tier 7 on our beloved branch, the Mahan packs an impressive amount of ordnance for its size. We are still equipped with the usual 127mm guns in a 1x5 mounts configuration. Torpedo-wise, we embark 12 of them in a 3x4 setup. Maximum range is 9.2 kilometers at a speed of 55 knots, making Mahan the first destroyer of the branch to be able to launch her torpedoes from concealment. She sits on 14,100 points of health and reaches a top speed of 36.8 knots. Her anti-air defense system is rated 20. Her surface detection is 7.4 kilometers, and the armor thickness goes from 6 to 21 millimeters. For the modules I've installed, we have Main Armament Modification 1, Propulsion Modification 1, Aiming System Modification 1, and Steering Gears Modification 2. For my commander, Preventive Maintenance, Last Stand, and Basic Firing Training. So there you have it, basically a packed up gun platform with great torpedoes for its tier. Unfortunately, Mahan has plenty of traits working against her. Poor concealment, slow top speed, and not that high of a health pool, although she makes it up for the amount of firepower she can actually deliver. Yet, that is well enough of these descriptions. Let's put some footage behind these words and take the Mahan to battle. And here we are, on the map Two Brothers, Domination Mode. Today matchmaking was gentle. We are top tier and versing mostly tier 5s. We've also got ourselves a center northern spawn. Now that is going to allow us to decide which flank we want to support first. But then you look at the minimap and you realize, well, that is 7.4 kilometers of surface detection. Every single destroyers on the opposite team can outspot me from the moon, literally. So instead of choosing a flank and struggling to do my job as a destroyer, spotting and capping, that is, well, I decide to try my luck and go for the reckless move, the middle push. There is no CV in this game either. I do not run the risk of being plain spotted early and attract too much attention. And moreover, there is no radars in the enemy lineup. Another thing that makes me want to go middle is that outside my tendency of being a very aggressive destroyer captain, the Mahan has surprisingly good torpedo angles and can easily launch them from both sides as well. This feature is an extremely powerful asset in CQB fights, and well, since I am going down a narrow pass, that's pretty much all I'm going to find. But even if I fail to achieve anything in that weird position, I can maybe create enough distraction, and well, distraction is going to come our way. Enemy Acasta, Tier 5 British destroyer, decided to be as reckless as I am, and we bump into each other's. She's backed up by an Omaha, it seems, so I decide to cut line of sight as soon as possible and reach for cover, also getting out of the way of potential torpedoes. Good trade-off on the damage. I land around 4,000 on the Acasta and receive very little in return. And I am now relatively safe, ready to use my torpedoes if needed. Now, knowing that Omaha could be pushing with hydroacoustic surge, I'm going to try and maneuver to be able to escape as fast as possible if I'm being pushed too hard. I'm reversing to drop torpedoes into that smoke in the process and be ready to get out of dodge. On the rest of the map, the enemy presence is equally spread on both flanks, so I know I will not have to verse any other ships than the one I'm fighting right now. And Akasta was lucky. She actually mirrored my moves and reversed as well, but her smoke is dissipating and I can now unleash my firepower on her. And at this range, well, she just literally melts. Somehow our dispersion on the last salvos does not allow us to secure the kill. Bit of a shame, considering the amount of damage I received in return. But it's fine, the British destroyer is out of combat and I will be able to easily secure that kill later on if I have to. For now, it is time to bail though. I've used both my starboard torpedo launchers. If Omaha decides to push me now, I will be kinda caught, so retreating under smoke it is. Meanwhile, the enemy team sunk 2 of our cruisers already, 1 on both flanks, so out of all the starts, this isn't the best one at all. It also seems like both A and D caps are contested, so yeah, our team has some work to do. I'm just trying to buy some time here, dropping my torpedoes left and right. I'm pretty certain that Omaha smells blood, and well, since the reload time on these torpedoes is only slightly over a minute, I believe it is well worth the try. And to be honest, I do not plan on abandoning that middle push at all. I know the Akasta is out of commission, and if I can manage to take out the US light cruiser, the Sea Cap might as well be mine to take. My torpedoes going down the path do not connect with anything, so I'm going to assume that it is clear for me to push again. And we lose a 3rd cruiser over Delta Cap. Considering the ship advantage the enemy has on that flank, I will have to expect a strong push on Bravo quite soon. But that's my cue to make my move. On the minimap, Furutaka is seen to be pushing towards Alpha, so technically it's only Omaha and Akasta, so down the pass I go again. And surprise, I am instantly greeted by a hydroacoustic. Omaha is right there, pushing through my smoke. Well, time for some real CQB this time. I move to his port side and drop my starboard torpedoes. All 4 of them connect on the bow. Not enough for the kill, but our AP scores 2 citadels, enough to obliterate the Omaha and earn ourselves a devastating strike. And I got really lucky right there. Omaha also has torpedoes on both sides, but it seems that he could not use them in time. Not over though, Akasta is still right there, trying to fire at my last known position. I'll return the salvo and land a hit with a fire, and as we push that island corner, she is revealed and caught. Yeah. Okay, that was great dispersions right there on the shots. We finally finish off the British destroyer and quickly get out of the way of her torpedoes. Pass cleared. Took me long enough, but so far that is 2 kills and 38,000 points of damage, and I can freely capture Objective C now. That was a good example of what Mahan can do in close quarters. The torpedo angled advantage and the strong artillery. I haven't received that much damage either, so I feel confident pushing right behind enemy lines. So far our team is still not doing that good. Delta Cap is secured and being heavily pushed by enemy forces, and it doesn't seem like Alpha Cap is making any progresses either. We trade one of our destroyer for one of their battleships, but A shortly falls into red control as well. The second I start contesting Charlie though, Furutaka is revealed on very low HP. It also appeared that she is running the stock hull, so I decide to engage on the spot and try to finish her off. To my right is also the enemy Akatsuki, but she is busy enough dealing with our ships at Alpha, so I can secure a kill on the Japanese cruiser without too much trouble. Although I am left fully revealed in front of the enemy Lyon. Now, that thing has 16 guns. And if he is shooting HE, he will claim a good portion of my health, so I'm trying hard as I can to wiggle the rudder and play with the speed until I finally conceal back. Okay. Now please let me cap C in peace. We still got the enemy Akatsuki that might try to spot for his friendly Lyon, but I am ready to smoke if needed, and I'm launching preventive torpedoes on the French battleship. Now, at longer ranges, the chances of landing a hit with these slow torpedoes is limited. But the advantage I see in them is that even if the enemy maneuver out of their path for some time, they still have a chance of turning back into them. Would the torpedoes be faster, a slight change in course of the enemy would cancel any possibilities of a hit. Having slower torpedoes increases the opportunities. Is that even understandable? I don't know. Anyway, C is mine, and I am going to creep around that Lyon, keeping the islands in between us and try to set up for an ambush. The issue is, this battleship is full HP and well, no one is able to spot him for me anymore. Torpedoes are reloading. This will be just enough time until that Lyon comes around the corner. And yep, here it is. But it seems that he realizes I'm very close to him and is legitimately scared of pushing too quickly. I also mess up my smoke. I'm busted. And at this point, I was expecting him to make a complete U-turn and start kiting away, but nope. Lyon is indeed turning, but in, and decides to keep sailing towards me. Then so be it, torpedoes in the water. At this range, I am guaranteed a hit on him. I will not devastate the battleship, but I'm expecting at least a flood. Speed boost is active, and I'm going to make a full turnaround to get my starboard launchers to bear. Torpedoes are going, and 2 hits, 4 hits, some flood as well. That's very good. Lyon got really hurt from that, and as I am launching my third sets towards him, his fate is basically sealed. And as you could see here, I got out of my smoke and created some distance to avoid the assured acquisition range, which is 2 kilometers. Hence, this Lyon will not have a shot on me, at least not before it is too late. We score 2 more hits on his bow and secure our 4th frag of the game. I rush straight back into my smoke, and in the meantime, my teammates started capturing Alpha again. And oops, Akatsuki is actually right next to me. I wasn't paying attention, and I'm going to go full aggression on that one. Friendlies are taking shots, very good salvos land on the Japanese destroyer, but our stray shells kinda steal that frag, I got to admit. Never mind, here is our Kraken, unleashed. We are slowly taking the lead and regaining control of this fight, even though the points are quite close and the kill counter is equalized. We do have most of the caps now though, it's only a matter of defending them, and since we still have 3 friendlies at Bravo, we can also easily box in the remaining of the enemy force. Teammates backing me up are an Omaha and a King George V. I'm going to head out and scout ahead for them, and here comes the enemy Nürnberg, a bit too close for comfort. That's where the poor concealment of my build is going to play against me, but hey, I have no issues engaging in return. I can still damage the poorly armored Nürnberg, even though I better get out of line of sight behind that island. Now, the enemy team still has a very healthy Duke of York coming in as well. The fight for Charlie is still not over, but thankfully our teammates up north are doing a fantastic job finishing off enemies here and there. And I'm trying to get an angle on the German cruiser again, using my smoke as cover. Never mind for that. Nürnberg is using hydroacoustic, and that is going to cost me dearly, actually, because Duke of York HE shells are going to connect, basically halving the remaining of my health. Not good. This Nürnberg needs to die before she can land more damage on me, but we managed to gun her down, thankfully. Okay, enough risks taken for today, I guess. I will just sit behind this island now and suppress the Duke of York to try and pump more damage in. Actually, not that much damage dealt overall, but so far, we've done a great job outsmarting the enemies we faced and provided spotting, caps, and well, a hell of a diversion. The Duke is still closing in, but with AR kicking in, we are landing a lot of shells and setting some fires as well. The British battleship is determined to brawl, and if he really wants to do so, I'll have some torpedoes for him. Smoke deployed. I'm trying to reverse and get an angle between these islands, but I have to stop firing. I can read that Duke like an open book. He's aiming at my smoke, and I can't really take the risk of getting blind-fired, considering the amount of health I have left. We actually did earn the high caliber achievement, only with a bit over 100,000 damage dealt, but this is a tier 5 game, and the overall HP pool is quite low. I'm going to camp in my smoke and just try to farm that Duke as much as I can, but I'm about to get surprised by the fact that, well, the Duke of York has hydroacoustic. If this wasn't for luck and poor timing, I would have been dead right there. The Duke was still reloading, and our King George finishes him off, saving our skin in the process. Only 2 enemy cruisers remaining, and nothing they can do to turn this game over. Our job here is done, and we are not going to see any more action. Shortly after, our points reached the 1,000 threshold and ended the game in a victory. 124,000 points of damage dealt, 4,000 XP earned, and 268,000 credits gained. We achieved Devastating Strike, Kraken Unleashed, and High Caliber, landed almost 200 shells, 10 torpedoes, and 2 citadels, captured 1 objective, and sunk 6 ships. Quite a daring decision in the Mahan, pushing the middle that early, but we made it work thanks to the sturdiness of the ship and the amount of firepower it can dish out even in the most dire of situations. I hope you've enjoyed that battle, and if you did, well, there is actually more to come. So, go get a drink, some food, kick back and enjoy. We got one more battle to review, and it's coming up right now. And here we are again, this time on the map North, domination mode, and versing a tier 8 matchmaking as well. We got ourselves a southwest spawn, right in front of objective A, and even with our horrible concealment, we are going to try our chances for the cap. It's all about playing the objective, at least for me. Even if I am at a big disadvantage, there's a lightning on the enemy team, I can rely on simple but situational destroyers tactics to overcome that. Using island cover, constantly keeping an eye on the minimap, trying to plan your enemy's movement at least 30 seconds beforehand, using your teammate as backup, etc, etc. It does take practice, don't get me wrong, and especially with that patch and the CV rework, playing a destroyer is highly risky. You can equip defensive anti-air on the Mahan, but that is while using the Sea Hull that removes one of your turrets to add more anti-air mounts. Personally, I prefer the 5 guns configuration since it brings an actual advantage in destroyer gunfights and maximizes your DPS overall. So, see, we are not messing around schooling tier 5s anymore, we got to be much more careful about our decisions. And as we are approaching the A cap, we spot the French cruiser Galissonière and decide to drop our torpedoes. Now, my plan was to pre-torp the cap regardless, but if these torpedoes can have 2 effects, contesting the cap and potentially reaching that cruiser, we will happily launch them now. I am rotating to get the 3rd set out, and yep, we are already being spotted. That's going to be an instant smoke for me. I quickly reconceal, of course, but not before taking a bit of damage from the Galissonière's AP shells. The cap is also contested. I'll have to expect torpedoes quite soon, so I decide to reverse out and get out of their potential way. Meanwhile, we are opening up on the French cruiser. We have the DPS to actually hurt her a bit, and oh, okay. 2 torpedoes are going to connect on the British destroyer Lightning, granting us First Blood and Devastating Strike. It also seems like one of these torpedoes is going to connect with the Galissonière. The poor French cruiser is under tremendous amount of fire, and our torpedoes does reach and secure our 2nd frag. Call it luck if you want, but these slow torpedoes have their own way of catching people off guard. But the A cap is still contested. We have another destroyer in here, and that thought doesn't even have time to reach my brain that we already got torpedoes coming in. I evade them just in time, and just as I retaliate with my own sets of torpedoes, enemy Icarus, that somehow seemed to have taken extensive damage already, is spotted trying to make a break out of the cap. Target rich environment. That is what the Alpha Cap is right now. And we are able to land some very good hits on the British destroyer, enough to already secure our 3rd kill of the game and completely crippling the push made on A by the enemy team. And oh, I got caught off guard here. While I was gunning down the Icarus, enemy CV lined up a very hard rocket strike on me. For some reason, I made the mistake of disabling my anti-air guns and got quite punished for it. But we're okay. No more enemy ships have line of sight on us, and I am able to reverse back into the cap and start securing it again. Meanwhile, the enemy team traded our kills with one of our destroyers on the other side of the map and have also managed to capture C uncontested. Now, not a lot is going to happen for the next minutes, so if you don't mind, I will just speed this up a bit while we are reversing to get an angle on the enemy Bismarck. We are going to drop our torpedoes in case he decides to break left, smoke up, and just act as a full gun platform, trying to get some damage in. Enemy Warspite is also coming up, and once again we are able to showcase the annoyance a Mahan can be when focusing at targets with its guns. As long as we land our shells on superstructures, we are going to deal significant damage and even set some fires. And in quite a short period of time, we are able to chunk that Bismarck down a bit and force the damage control on the Warspite as well. But the enemy dreadnoughts are coming out of range, and the A flank being now completely clear, I decide to relocate and assist our team around Bravo. The enemy forces have broke through south of C, a Tirpitz, a Chapayev, a Massachusetts on top of it, and they are menacing our rear. We do not want to get boxed in, and I need to be here to try and halt their battleship's progress at least. As we get back into the action, our team has lost an additional destroyer, but so did the enemy team. We got the cap control and the points advantage, but we have to brace for an incoming enemy push. Le Terrible, Tier 8 French gunboat destroyer, is roaming around and will provide some spotting for us. I'm going to set up for a torpedo strike on the Massachusetts. I expect him to slow down and start bowing on to our allies. Although we do have to worry about the enemy Chapayev. High-tier Soviet radars got normalized to 12 kilometers now, but that is why we launched our port torpedoes first, to be able to rotate around and have island cover available to us as soon as we want it. And that maneuver right there, I do it very often in the Mahan. Ditch all torpedoes on one side and turn around towards cover with the remaining set available. You are being aggressive, but have a plan B in case the first one fails. I've maneuvered like that on the A-cap previously, and I don't know why it is satisfying to do for me. Once again, we are going to set up and just unleash our 127mm on everything in range. We got good information of where both the enemy's remaining destroyers are. Akatsuki is caught in a duel with our Terrible, and she will quickly get taken out by the French destroyer's reload booster. So I know the caps are completely secured for now. The only enemies in the northern part of the map are the enemy Bismarck and Warspite, so at least I can only focus on what's happening south. Chapayev radar is up though. I was expecting that, but as stated previously, we have island cover and I can cut line of sight, all the while sustaining fire on the Tirpitz. Unfortunately, our Terrible goes down. I am the only destroyer left, but so is the enemy Asashio, and at least I know torpedo threats for me are almost non-existent. Talking about torpedoes, I was definitely missed on the Massachusetts previously, but the US Dreadnought is falling back towards sea and is out of reach for now. So Tirpitz it is. The enemy CV is also overhead and forcing our battleships to retreat. Most of our allies are starting to slowly push back north, giving way to a south opening on Bravo that I will find myself quite alone to defend. I'm basically the closest to any enemies and also the closest to the cap as well. The only ship that could technically threaten B-cap is the Asashio, and I intend on staying around to prevent her from doing that exactly. In the meantime, our HE spam towards the German battleship is going to grant us a fourth frag, and we finally managed to break the enemy push towards B. I still have some times on my smoke, and our allied CV is going to spot the Japanese destroyer for me. And that's going to be bad times for her. At this range, she is basically free damage, but she is also a threat. She can easily outspot me, and she also embarks some very strong guns, and considering my health, she could potentially win in a brawl. That is why I am abusing the opportunity to do as much damage as possible on her. Unfortunately, our friendly planes fly away and leaves me blind, but we got the Confederate achievement in the process. Massachusetts is pushing back around. I am going to ditch my torpedoes again, and since my smoke is dissipating, make a run for the island once more. Same maneuver to get my third set of torpedoes on the Massachusetts. Unfortunately, the US battleship is maneuvering and my first set is going to be a miss. Asashio also lands a torpedo on our Tirpitz and gets the kill. This game isn't over yet, and the enemy team is still putting up a fair fight. And right as I'm about to cancel my turn, we land a torpedo on the enemy Asashio. Her engine must have been knocked out, and she wasn't fast enough to get out of their way. But regardless, here is our Kraken unleashed, and the enemy team has no more destroyers. Now, my only direct threats are just the Chapayev and the enemy CV. One is busy enough fighting our battleships, the other is trying to drop our cruiser, so I am good to go for now. We also have a strong point lead now. We've been holding both caps for quite some time, but this is still what I consider a close game. The fact that the Asashio is now dead kind of sealed the fate of the enemy team, though. The last stand of the enemy is about to happen, and I am readying up for it. Enemy Bismarck is pushing back around, and once again, I'm gonna pull the same maneuver. Ditch all torpedoes on one side, and turn around to be ready for plan B. If the Bismarck pushes, I will be able to get cover through the pass right in front of me, and that's the playstyle you want to apply not only in the Mahan, but as a destroyer most of the time. Always have cover available, but stay in a position where you can hurt the enemy without them being able to hurt you back. Thankfully, that Bismarck was not running his hydroacoustic search. She does take out our Bayern though, equalizing the kill counter once again, but our torpedoes are on target. 3 hits, 2 floods, but the German battleship survives on 500 health, and is able to repair the flooding too. Come on now. It's fine, we can just cut the engines and wait for her to show up. We try to pre-fire so we are able to secure the kill before our teammates does. That's greedy, I know, I don't care, that's how I am. And oof, enemy Chapayev gets chunked quite hard, almost 3/4 of his health. That's gonna help out a lot. And at this point, yeah, it's kind of game over for the red team. Massachusetts is almost done, Chapayev is reassessing his life choices, and I am pushing through the Narrows to finish them both. Never mind, Chapayev takes out our Monarch. I have to say, this makes that game even more enjoyable, since none of the teams completely stomped each other's for once. Our CV is dropping torpedoes on the mass, they are on target, and he's gone. So I switch to the broad-sided Chapayev and secure the kill with armor piercing before we can hurt our battleships again. 7th strike of the game, high caliber achievement, and we can start chilling. We've done our job. Sitting at around 140,000 points of damage, I'd say this was a fairly good round. But hey, where is that Warspite again? Oh, there she is. And well, of course, I'm going to be a twat and try to farm more damage just to rub it in the enemy's faces. After a couple of salvos dodged, a lot more HE shells landed, and a couple of fire sets, our points reached the 1,000 threshold, and we achieved a victory. Over 150,000 points of damage dealt, 13,000 XP earned, and a very decent 900,000 credits gained. We've achieved Devastating Strike, Confederate, First Blood, Kraken Unleashed, and High Caliber, landed 390 shells, 7 torpedoes, captured a base, and sunk 7 ships. Hopefully, this was a nice demonstration on how to sail a destroyer, relying more on island cover rather than pure concealment. We supported the flanks we were assigned to, played the objective, and had a very successful game doing so, all the while trying to apply simple but efficient setups and ambushes. I hope you've learned something from it. I sure as hell did while playing that game. Well people, this video is now coming to an end. Thank you very much for watching it all the way through. If you've enjoyed the episode, please give it a thumbs up. If you did not, well, thumbs down, but stay tuned anyway. Even though I'm struggling to gather content for the next iteration of the series, there will be, as always, more content to come about World of Warships. So, until next time, you have a good one, and you take it easy.